Thankfully, the state rested in the Adrian Gonzalez case, and then they turned it over to the defense. And we'll have to talk about that here in just a second. Here's what we're talking about today. A brief recap. This is the criminal trial of Adrian Gonzalez, who was a police officer at the school on the day in Uvalde when there were a number of children killed. In the criminal trial, which began on January 6th, Nico LaHood is leading the defense team that also includes Jason Goss, a defense attorney from LaHood's firm. Both of those were key attorneys in the case against the San Antonio police officers that was decided last year. The state argues that Gonzalez was criminally negligent for not confronting the shooter when he had the opportunity. And the defense team argues that Gonzalez acted according to his training at the time and is being used as a scapegoat. At the close of a criminal trial, or I should say at the close of the state's case in a criminal trial, the defense asks for what they call a restricted verdict in Texas and what every place else calls a directed verdict. Essentially, state didn't make their case, judge. It's a legal decision. You decide, let us go home. And this was the colloquy and the argument about the restricted verdict.
Okay. Again, the state has rested. We're outside the presence of the jury. Did you have another matter you want to take up?
Yes, Your Honor. Do you have a copy of the amended, the second amended indictment?
I do. Well,
Okay.
I've seen it, but I don't have it.
Yes, Your Honor. Just to remind the court, I guess our first issue, it's all a legal sufficiency issue, and it's a legal sufficiency issue that's sounded in and based upon the idea of a duty. So, one of the things in the indictment is that the state has alleged that our client has a duty under Article 606, under Article 605, and under the Texas Education Code 37.081. The state has not produced any evidence of these statutes. We do not have any witness to testify about it. The jury cannot determine how the statute would apply. If there is a duty, it's not even in front of it. It's not even in front of the jury. So they have not provided any evidence of these statutes and what their content is. Now, theoretically, the court's going to have to put those statutes in a jury charge, but that'll be the first time the jury's ever seen it.
Now, hold on just a minute there, Mr. Goss. Duty is not a factual question. Duty is a legal question. And I'm sure that we didn't get to this place in the trial without that having been determined by the court already. So if the court didn't feel that there was a legal duty, he would already have ended this. So this is simply playing to the people on YouTube or the choir or whatever. This is not serious argument because he knows that the duty question has already been decided.
The second issue is that the indictment has witness one as the person who supposedly gave the information, then based on having that information from witness one, alleging that Adrian Gonzalez failed to do these things. Throughout the entire case, witness one was not identified. And the reason that that's important is that there were probably 3 or 4 witnesses that gave Mr. Gonzalez information. And the analysis and the jury's analysis would change based upon who that witness one is. Is it Coronado saying I think he's in the school? Is it the dispatcher talking about where they think it is, heading towards the school with a gun? Any of those things. So witness one, having not been identified in the state's case, would not allow the jury to, I guess, unanimously determine who witness one is, and did Adrian fail to do his duty, which is under statutes that they don't know about and have not heard about. Did he fail to do his duty based upon information given by witness one?
The purpose of an indictment is to give the defendant reasonable notice of the charges against him, what has been alleged, and to set out the elements of the crime with which he has been charged. It is not to name every single witness who's going to be important in the case. Makes reference to witness one. Is there a need to name that person during trial? Well, if there is, I've not seen that case law. Now there could be something out there, I guess, but that doesn't really make sense since nobody comes into court and calls witness 1 because they instead call the witness by, Sally Smith or whatever, and they come up and sit down and take the oath and then they start testifying. And usually pleadings are not part of the trial. In other words, although they often read the indictment at the very beginning, the jury usually isn't given a copy of the indictment or any of the motions or anything like that. That's legal determinations, and that's separate. That's over here. So this is a little bit of a Hail Mary pass here. They really feel they're going to win this at the jury level, but they have to do this to preserve the record so that they can later claim that this is an egregious violation of the right to due process or whatever else they want to claim. That is, and it's I guess in certain instances, if there was a confidential informant, it potentially could be that kind of thing. But everybody knows who testified in this trial. Now, you didn't get to see their faces because apparently this judge wouldn't let the lay witnesses have their faces shown. Now, the police officers who were testifying, either as fact witnesses or expert witnesses, absolutely, they had to show their faces. But the other people did not have to. And I imagine that made them feel, much more at home testifying in front of the court. So again, this is kind of a silly notion, but this is how the prosecutor responded to that argument.
All right, state's response?
Yes, Your Honor. As to duty, the case law is clear that duty is purely a matter for the judge to decide. And once the judge decides that, the judge then instructs the jury on duty. Duty is not a matter for the jury to decide. It's a matter for the court to decide. The second issue as to witness number 1, there's ample proof that there was only one witness that identified where the shooter was, and that is Melody Flores. And so the jury has ample evidence to find beyond a reasonable doubt that Melody Flores is witness number 1.
All right, I'm going to overrule the motion for instructed verdict at this time. So you ready to proceed? You need time?
We need just a little bit of time, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
All right. He's our timekeeper. We're going to tell the jury they got 10 more minutes on their break and tell me when 10 is up. But we'll be in recess for 10 minutes.
Now the defense decided to present 2 witnesses, the first a lay witness and the second an expert witness. The first witness merely went through most of the facts we already knew, although there was a little bit of questioning about one little clip of video, and then the ultimate question, which you'll see in this clip.
And have I showed you a little clip that's very much zoomed in and very pixelated of one of the camera angles and views from your funeral home?
Yes.
All right. And is that contained on Defendant's 12?
Yes.
Or we offer Defendant's 12?
Objection.
All right. May we post to the jury?
Yes.
And so what I want to do is I'm going to put that up there behind you. So I'm going to direct your attention. I'm going to come up here. Like I said, it's very pixelated. But when we talk about these, you can see that these are vehicles, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you're talking about the vehicles in that parking lot, these would be kind of the ones towards the right side of the parking lot, like I guess closer to the funeral home than the ones over.
Yes.
All right. Can you push play? Now, focusing your attention here. You see this figure walking right here?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the person that you saw that you identified as the shooter?
Yes.
And I want to watch. Can you go back? Can you play it again? Yes. It's very hard to see because it is pixelated, as Ranger Hill told us. I want you to watch to see if you can see a white car that runs up that side.
Yes.
You see that white car going
Yes.
up?
Yes,
Going
I do
quick?
remember.
Right. And at the time you see the white car, do you see the figure kind of ducking down
Yes.
between the cars? Is that how you remember seeing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, if the jury were shown, you see, let me orient you to this map. This is the parking lot, and these would be, I guess, those two cars that we're looking at that's on the right side. Now, you remember seeing him
Yes.
here, ducked between these two cars. Now, if the jury were shown that the shooter was right here, and I'm talking about this X that's kind of either this X or this X, and you see that that's towards the front part of that parking lot.
Right.
If the jury were shown that he was there when that white car went through, does that video reflect that he was standing here, or does it reflect that he was standing in between these two cars?
By the two cars.
By the two cars, and that's what you remember seeing.
Yes.
Right. So, was there a point when several officers showed up? They showed up to, I guess they were kind of there next to where you guys were at the funeral.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. And did you personally attempt to communicate with those officers what you had seen and what you were still seeing and with?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Gilbert and I are yelling at them upon their arrival and exit after they exited their car that he's already inside.
And so you're telling them that he's inside.
Yes.
Were you pointing to the area where you
Yes.
went inside?
Yes.
So you, and if we could see on this map, so if you're here in the funeral home, are you pointing to this west side of the building
Yes.
and telling them that he's gone inside?
Yes.
Did the officers that you talked to, how many do you remember being there?
Two.
Two. And you, look, if I could just show you, I think when we spoke, can you show us, you remember them being here on this street or around?
Well, actually, they're parked here in front of the Geraldine fence to the school.
Okay.
But this is Bettis.
Got it.
So like right across.
And that's where you remember. And there were two officers. You told them, and did those officers then go immediately to where you told them and run inside the building?
No.
What did they do?
I believe, if I remember correctly, they got back into the car and went around the school. Towards the front of Rob.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, Judge. I'll pass it.
No questions.
So the gestalt of all this questioning is essentially they got bad testimony, but that was what people had remembered, right? So there are two different views of this. She remembers it one way because she saw the gentleman, and just because the car went through there real quickly doesn't mean that that's where it ended. And I'm sure they'll bring that up on closing arguments. But the really important thing there at the end, these other officers, they didn't go attack him either. Essentially, this is if everybody's guilty, then nobody's guilty. If all the other officers aren't being prosecuted, then why is poor Adrian Gonzalez? And that's the point they're making. And it has some jury appeal. I think it would be hard to overcome as a prosecutor, but I would probably try my best to do that. I know how I would do it, but I don't necessarily know how they would do it, and particularly this prosecutor. The next witness was an expert witness. He was a former San Antonio SWAT officer, and he gave information reasonably helpful to the defense. And the ultimate question here, did Adrian Gonzalez do anything wrong? He answered essentially no. Let's take a listen to that.
Active shooter training, you've also been trained in active shooter training.
Yes, sir.
Now, when active shooter training says go towards the gunfire, you have to know where the gunfire is coming from first.
Right.
If there is no cover and you don't know where the gunfire is coming from, what is your training when it comes to that?
Well, there's other training that I've been through that you be careful when you're moving forward and toward whatever you think is a threat. Just because one training, say, course tells me that I must do this, I mean, I don't think any officer would go, okay, thank you, that's what you said, and I would just go because you said so. There's other things that come into play that you've been trained on or conditioned for before that. And like I mentioned, different people process information differently, you know, and maybe they didn't learn how to approach or move forward through a hallway.
Well, and as far as the, Mr. Witzkel's training that he gave in reviewing the photos that the state's put into evidence, does it appear that even in Mr. Witzkel's training, they are with somebody else, they are moving around and through with an AR-15, and that's kind of how they're trained to respond to something like that specific active shooter training?
Yes, I was watching it from YouTube, so I didn't get to see everything that was shown up this way. It's
Sure.
different times, but the pictures that I saw, there were more than one person.
Right, and an AR, not a pistol.
Correct.
Now, he was pretty brutally cross-examined by the prosecutor, and I think the prosecutor got him to admit a lot of the things that are central to his case. And at the end of the day, this boils down to a he said situation. You know, do you go with the training or do you go with your gut? Do you advance or do you wait for backup? There are conflicting theories, and, who's to say who's right? That's the defense's approach to this. And I think it's a very sound defense strategy. I'm not sure um, how satisfying the result will be when the jury comes back with a verdict. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people disappointed. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are very happy that the verdict came down the way it did. Whatever it is, it will be interesting to see. They are going to work on the jury charge this afternoon, and then tomorrow morning they are going to do closing arguments. I will try and bring you an analysis of those as quickly as I can after the closing arguments are done. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here today. If you have the opportunity today, try to do one kind thing to help somebody else. Any kind thing will do. Buy somebody a Coke. Get them a cup of coffee. Anything that makes their day better. That would be a way to help make the world a better place. Because after all, isn't that what we're all after? Now, YouTube has a few things that they think you might be interested in, and they're going to be showing you that right up there.